Good morning, students. I hope that your Science Assessment 1 and Assessment 2 have been successful. We've actually completed the syllabus now, and you should be in possession of quite a few notes that you've taken yourself. What I'm going to be taking you through in the next week is different ways of setting out these notes to make it easier for you to study with a view of revision of the content. Let me start with first. We're going to use diagrams, other words, pictorial ways of storing your information. In the old syllabus, we used to do visiograms and tree structures. Now, visiogram is basically a diagram where the center concept splits up into smaller units. And then the tree structure is basically your hierarchic structure, starting with the main concept and then branching down into subsections and subsections. I will give you examples to follow. Okay, this is an example of a visiogram where the central concept here is broken down into different subsections there, and then further down into other subsections. This is a brief look at the self, aspects of the self, which is no longer in your syllabus, but you could use any information. So you store your information, you actually draw it, write it into these circles. Let's take leadership. You could have taken leadership, so you'd have leadership there, and the different styles of leadership down here. And then in any further information, you'd have more branches coming off at the bottom here, which contain concepts, more information on the different types of leadership. So that would be what we call a visiogram. So the idea is to store information in these diagrams. The reason for this is that the mind retains information in images much better than it does in words. Especially the subconscious mind responds very well to drawings and images and symbology and symbols, structures. And if you store your information in these structures, you'll find that it's easier to recall. In fact, sometimes if you've got a pictorial memory, you can actually recall the whole page as it is, and in your mind. And then you can go down, in your mind, you can actually go down to the different sections and see the information that you've stored there. So the idea is to store the main concepts, the words, the key concepts. I'll show you later on with the hierarchic structure. It's more clear when I do the hierarchic structure. Okay, this is another example of a visiogram where I've stored information, but you can see the more detailed information here. I've taken these little circles and I've put information into them. Very small, very small, abbreviated, just the main ideas, the main concepts, the keywords. And in that way, I've actually been able to store a lot of information on a single page. And what this does, it sets in your mind. And I used to call them, for the exam purposes, I used to call them cram cards. It's much easier just to take this page with you, which describes the whole chapter or the whole study unit in one page. In other words, your notes should get smaller and smaller and smaller as you go along, and more concise. Finally, this is an example of a tree structure. As you see, I start with the main concepts up here, and it branches down. All the information is stored, branching down into sub-branches and sub-branches. And I've actually been able to put a lot of information once again on this page, summarize a whole chapter or a whole unit on one page using the main, just the main concepts, the main ideas, and the keywords. And this you can use for final cramming. So that's what it should look like when you finished cramming the whole thing. And you'll find that if you do this, it becomes very useful and very easy to study. So I want to thank you for your time today, and hope that you can take your notes now and apply these techniques using diagrams. And you'll find it will be much easier to remember. Thank you.